Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's podcast episode. I'm really excited for this episode. And to be perfectly honest, I'm excited for all of them. But if you need help with your website, then this episode is going to be particularly beneficial because my guest today is, you guessed it, she's a web designer. And not only that, she is a web designer specifically for our industry. She works with home service professionals like professional organizers and interior designers. And so all of her information is going to be directly relevant to your business. So if you are struggling with learning the must-have components of your website homepage, she's going to talk about it today. If you are concerned about the mistakes to avoid in designing your website, she's also going to cover that today, as well as tons of other really useful tips. I'm not going to give it all away. It's really good stuff, so you're going to have to stick around, and let's get into it. Hello again, and welcome to the Speak Organized podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Summers, professional organizer, decluttering expert, and productivity-based life coach. I like to speak organized to give you the tools to conquer your clutter, live life with more purpose, and learn all about the business of tidying. If you're new here, please do me a favor, look at that screen of your cute little device and give the subscribe button a tap. I would be so honored to have you as a member of the Speaker fam. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, don't forget to smash the like button and tap that little notification bell so you're notified whenever I post new content every single week. You can also follow along and connect with me on social media. My handle is I Speak Organized, and I am very active on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Those are the primary places that you can come and hang out with me, as well as I encourage you to join my free Facebook group. It's a great place to connect with other like-minded folks who are on organizing and decluttering journeys, as well as others who are starting their professional organizing business. Join that group as well. So you may have noticed, if you've watched or listened to the podcast for the beginning of 2023, there's a theme emerging of trying to push past the fear that we all face diving into the unknown. And starting your own business can be very daunting. It is not for the faint of heart, not gonna lie. But there is a very supportive community within the professional organizing industry. And the guests that I've brought on the podcast very intentionally are there to share their stories and show you what is truly possible when you take that leap of faith. So if you are ready for that and you want to take my hand and you're new here or you're still kind of sitting on the fence, I want to make sure to get you up to speed on all the ways that I can help you start or level up your business. You have the opportunity to schedule an affordable consultation with me to get all of your questions answered. For real, nothing is off the table. And I would be honored to strategize with you and provide you with tons of resources during our call. I am serious about my mission to help you successfully start your own business and help you overcome any fear or doubt you have in your ability to make home organizing your new career. It was the best thing I ever did, and I would love to help you do it too. My schedule fills up quickly, so be sure to click the link in the description or the pinned comment to book your call before all of my slots are full for the month. And if you're ready to get paying clients in the door faster, you're gonna need a streamlined process to onboard your prospects. And I have taken all the guesswork out of doing that. What to ask potential clients during consultations, what to put in your agreements, getting customer reviews, and more with my signature Pro Organizer Forms pack. These are 9 done-for-you forms that are customizable in a free Canva account, and I'll even show you how to set up that account if you've never used Canva before. These forms will save you days, possibly weeks worth of work researching and drafting critical documents to run your business professionally, and they're specifically designed for our industry. All of my YouTube and podcast fam get an exclusive discount, YT Pro 8, and that will get you $8 off at checkout. Lastly, if you are totally intimidated by using social media for your business, I have a great class that you can watch on your own time called the I Speak Organized Social Media Method. It includes 5 20 to 30 minute lessons that will help you come up with endless post ideas for the most popular platforms, including easy Reels and TikTok video ideas, how to boost your following and engagement with people who actually like and share your content, how to post consistently without spending hours on social every day, with my signature content planner that you'll receive for free at the end of class, and a breakdown of all my favorite tools and software. I've made it super accessible and affordable for you. And of course, you get a bonus discount for being part of my speaker fam, ISO Social 5 at checkout. All right, speaker fam, I am so pleased to be joined by our lovely guest for today. We have Robyn White of RDW Design Studio. And I want to welcome you, Robyn, to the podcast and have you introduce yourself and just kind of give us a brief rundown of all about your business, what you do, what you got going on.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on today, Melanie. It's a pleasure to be here. And I am a website designer. I work primarily with service providers in the home industry. So, professional organizers, interior designers, architects, stagers. And my whole goal is to make the web design process as fun as possible and to deliver a really elevated and strategic website to my clients because it is their number one marketing tool.
Awesome. And so it's interesting that you've kind of narrowed down your target demographic to these home-based services. So what was the impetus for that?
It's a great question. So, a couple of different things, and I know your listeners will find this really funny, but long before the home edit, I actually hung my clothes in my closet in a rainbow order. So, um, yeah, I'm one of those people that is obsessed with things being neat and tidy. So that's what kind of drew me to the professional organizers. I love watching HGTV. So that's what kind of drew me to the interior designers. And as a small child, I can clearly remember sitting in front of the TV and sort of drawing out little floor plans, how I would arrange rooms in a house, and used to think being an architect could be a really cool career until I found out how much math is involved, and that quickly went to the wayside. So when I was trying to figure out who I really wanted to work with and who my niche would be, it sort of just fell into place, like these different industries that I have a passion for that I'm not directly in myself.
Awesome. I love that
Yeah.
explanation. And I'm also curious if you have been doing this sort of web design for a long time. Have you been doing other things previously? How did you kind of get into this line of work?
Yeah. So I've been doing this for about 4 years now. And it's an interesting story how I fell into it. My ex husband and I owned a previous business together.
Mhm.
And when we launched it, you're trying to bootstrap everything and pull everything together. We needed a website. We didn't have the funds to hire a professional to do it for us. So I'm like, oh, I'll figure out how to do it. And it was really frustrating and overwhelming at first. And then I was like, I really love doing this. And found myself constantly going back to it and updating it and redesigning it. And when we closed that business and I was thinking, what do I want my next step to be? I was like, that brought me so much joy. Let's give this a shot. Because I'm all about doing things that bring you joy. Life's too short to be miserable in what you're doing. So I don't even view this as a job. I always wanted to find something where I would never look forward to a Friday or dread a Monday. And I feel like I found it. So I'm very fortunate.
Oh, that's amazing. And that is
Yeah.
the dream goal for all of us, isn't it, fam? It just, I love to hear that. And I meet so many folks in this industry and sort of circling this industry that are very passionate about what they do. And they've really tapped into a purposeful way of living, which is so wonderful. So I'm happy to hear that. So, Robyn, you and I talked a little bit about this before we started filming in our correspondence. And you've been very generous with the information that you want to share with us. So, in an effort not to make this podcast episode like 4 hours long, I want to just kind of give our listeners and our viewers a taste of what you do. So, my question for you is can you give us a checklist of the must have components of a professional organizer's website?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, there's a ton of things that your website needs, but just narrowing it down to like five essentials, I would say number one is you want to have a clear and concise homepage.
Mm,
And at the very top of the homepage, so it's the above the fold area, what
right.
people see when they first land before they scroll down, you want to have the words, what do you do? Who do you do it for? How does it make their life better? And how do they buy it?
Mhm.
Along with what I like to call an aspirational image. What can they have after working with you? And my big piece of advice for this is don't be cute and clever, be very simple and very clear and very concise. These should be short, you know, phrases that you're putting there. You can go into more detail later, but you want to let people know immediately when they land on your website that they're in the right place. You have literally just a couple of seconds to capture their attention. So that would be sort of my number one thing that your website should have as a professional organizer.
Yes, clarity over cleverness. That is my sort of mantra when it comes to the website design too. And I love that you have reiterated that so beautifully. It could not be more true.
Yes.
We all get
Yes.
so concerned about making sure that everything is perfect and that it's well explained, and we end up over explaining ourselves. I am the queen of doing that because I value transparency and setting expectations. But like you said, you only have less than a minute. I feel like our attention spans are even getting shorter than they were maybe 5 years ago. And so now you have 5 seconds or 10 seconds because there's so much, it's overly saturated on the internet.
It absolutely is. And you really have almost less than 3 to 5 seconds to capture
Wow.
their attention when they land on your website. So, having that really clear understanding of who you're speaking to so that they will scroll down or go to another page and not just bounce off and move on to the next one
Absolutely.
is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So kind of moving on into my next question, which is kind of circling around the most common mistakes that you see in website design. So what are you seeing pop up over and over again that you can help
yeah,
our viewership avoid?
yeah. So, a lot things to avoid are not having a mobile responsive website. So that's a website that adapts to different screen sizes. That's
Mhm.
incredibly important. Not using testimonials on your website is a mistake I see. Um, Not having a clear call to action. And a call to action is what's the primary goal of your website? What's the number one action you want a visitor to your website to take? There's no right or wrong answer. Depends on every business. Generally speaking, it's going to be to contact you. So we need to politely guide the visitor to take that action. They don't know what it is we want them to do. So not having a clear call to action is a big mistake. Having content that isn't scannable is
Mm,
another big mistake. Um, Big paragraphs, blocks of text, that's a big turnoff. Short, paragraphs should be 2 sentences, 3 sentences, bullet points, lists, things like that, so that people can really scan. Along those lines, having hard to read fonts is a big mistake I see. You want your fonts to be easy to read. Um, if you're using a script font, use it very minimally, and make sure you've got a font hierarchy so people know what's a headline, what's a subheadline, what's a body text. So, again, if they want to scan, they can get the general gist by just looking at the headlines and not reading the paragraphs. Because, again, we're all short on time. Um, Slow page load time is a big
mhm.
mistake I see. And SEO is an enormous buzzword right now. Everybody's all about SEO. Google takes your page load time into consideration when they're doing organic rankings. So
Interesting.
that's incredibly important. Not easy to navigate is a big mistake I see. So that can be having way too many pages in your main menu at the top
Mhm.
of the page, having lots of drop downs. A confused buyer won't buy. So again, it goes back to that whole thing we were just talking about before, just being simple and clear and concise. Um, Not having legal pages,
Mm-hmm.
super duper important.
Very
Big mistake
important.
I see. Privacy policy is an absolute must on a website if you are collecting any kind of personal information. And if you have a
Right.
contact form, you are collecting personal information. And it is becoming a bigger and bigger deal as more and more states are adopting their own privacy laws. And just as an aside, it doesn't matter where you're located, it matters where the visitor to your website is located. And I know a lot of organizers are going to say, well, I'm a local business. I only work in Massachusetts. Well, that might be so, but, I live in Cape Cod. There are
Mhm.
people from all over the country who have second homes here, and they could contact, an organizer here to organize their second home, and they could be visiting from California who already has a privacy law.
Right.
So
Right.
just think about that. And the final big mistake I see is when the website is all about you and not your target audience.
Yes, and that is, you brought up so many, like all the bells are going off in my head because I can think about all of the different mistakes that I have made. Like when you were talking about page load time, that was one of the first things that I thought of because I remember creating a landing page for a workshop I was teaching, and I was using these humongous PNG file
Yep.
backgrounds. And so it was making, and if you don't know what that is, it's just it's a giant graphic. It's like a picture that you put on your website because obviously you want to have images on there. But I was using these ginormous files and it was making my page load time super slow. And I know that people were getting frustrated and clicking away. And so I was trying to compress, reduce those files. And it was like an extra day or two worth of work for this entire landing page to be reloaded with those. So it's good that you brought that up. And then the other thing that you brought up, your last point, can you remind me what that was? There's so many good things.
Yes. So when the website is all about you and not
Yes.
about your ideal client.
Yes, that is another point that I wanted to highlight, you guys, because there is a way for you to have copy on your website that shows how you relate to your client without being all about me, 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 me. And that is a super important thing because you want your client to feel like you get them, right?
Yep. That's your website. Actually, none of your marketing will resonate if you don't have a clear ideal client avatar. So who it is that you are speaking to, what their specific problems, struggles, frustrations, pain points are, and
Mhm.
you can't position yourself, you and your business, as the ideal solution to solve those problems if you don't understand what they are. You need to use words that they use. And your messaging has to target them, speak directly to them. It is so, so important. And my clients who work with me will hear me harp on and on and on about ideal client over and over and over again
Mhm.
because I'm all about strategy, and you cannot have a strategic website if you don't know who you're speaking to.
Yeah, that's so true. I love it.
Yep.
Thank you
And
for
it comes into the
clarifying.
design as well, because think about it, if you're um, targeting, if you're a senior move manager, if that's your specialty, and we're targeting retirees, let's
Mhm.
say, we need to design the website in a very different way than if you are working with 20 somethings.
Right. Right.
Yep. So it's
Absolutely.
not just the words, it's the design as well.
Yeah, and what's going to appeal to that specific buyer or client or whoever you're targeting.
Exactly.
Yeah, those
Exactly.
are such good points, you guys. Make sure you go back and listen and rewatch and re-listen to this after you've watched it initially because this is super important stuff. So moving right along here, Robyn. This is a kind of a strange question, I suppose, but I was curious to get your take on what you feel like is the most important aspect of building and maintaining a website that's worth investing in versus doing yourself because
Yep.
a lot of people when they're just starting out, they don't have a lot of startup funding. You're going to be taking on a lot of these things yourself. And as you mentioned, when you were doing that initially, it was very frustrating at
Mm.
first. And so what would you say may be good to just set aside some money to invest in help with
Mhm.
versus trying to do certain things yourself? What would you say is the
Yeah.
best way to do that?
That is such a good question. And I will say, honestly, when you're just in the very beginning stages of your business, and this is going to sound very strange, I do not recommend that you invest in your website at that point. I think that is a really good time to do it yourself. And the reason is the experience that I've had in my own businesses and I've had with clients who I've worked with who've been early on. Everything about your business is going to change in those first 2 years. You are going to start out with services that you're not going to want to offer anymore. You might change your target audience. You might change your business name. Like, you know, I just feel like everything about your business and your brand is going to change because when you first start out, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
So I don't actually recommend heavily investing in the website in the beginning. I think it's better to wait until you've kind of gotten all of that clarity.
Mhm.
And then I think investing in a professional to design and build the website for you. I think a copywriter is absolutely essential. I hear this all the time from my clients. Oh, I was really good in English. I'm a great writer. That may be, but your website copy is sales copy.
Right.
We're writing to convert a potential customer from curiosity to conversion. We are not taught how to do that in school. It
No.
takes a special talent and it's very hard to write about yourself. So, the website designer and the copywriter. And then I think professional branding is super duper important. And I, again, think that can be done later. In the beginning, you don't need to waste your time playing in Canva designing a logo. No one is going to hire you based on your logo. So you can just put your business name at the top of your website when you're first starting out. Um, you know, action, not perfection. Done is better than perfect. Like the most important thing when you first start out is to get out there and start getting clients. And I feel that all businesses should have a website. They're the yellow pages of today. You don't, no one's going to take you seriously as a business if you don't have a website, but it doesn't have to be all the bells and whistles in the beginning.
Right. Wow. There are so many important pieces of advice in the last 2 minutes that you can share. It's so crazy. I thinking about the sort of, and I mean this lovingly, fam, the perfectionist mentality that we as organizers and home service providers tend to have in this industry really puts us in decision paralysis, and you want everything to be perfect. I talk to coaching clients every single week who get stuck on this stuff. And so I'm so glad that you're sharing that. Just put your business name
Yeah.
instead of your logo. That's such a great idea. And websites are very easy to make these days. So I want to segue to the next question here. And I think I may know the answer to this based on what you've shared, but you never know. Like I'm generally wrong with these things. So tell us if you if you prefer free versus paid when you're first getting started, and what are the pros and cons?
So I think what you mean by free is when, let's say, you're using Wix
Yes.
for your website platform,
Yeah.
that um, if it was my business, for example, it would be RDW Design Studio .wixsite.com.
Yes.
Never do that. Please don't ever, ever do that. I always recommend paid, never free,
Mhm.
because let's just think of the perception that that gives to a potential client that you couldn't even invest in purchasing your own domain name.
Mhm. Which is like $12.
Yes,
Yeah.
sometimes less, sometimes a little more.
Right.
Um, that is an essential cost of doing business. And just to let your listeners know, to have a website, you need a domain name and you need hosting. That's the computer where your website files live, and
Mhm.
you need a platform. So something like Wix or Squarespace or Shopify, those are all in one platforms where your website platform and your host are the same company.
Mhm.
Something like WordPress, which is the platform that I specialize in, is a self-hosted platform,
Mhm.
meaning um, I would build on WordPress and I can find my own website host. I get to choose whoever I want. So, but you will always need to pay for hosting and your domain name and generally a platform as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One other one that's cropped up that I've enjoyed playing around with recently is Groove. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I am not.
Groove it's more geared towards people that do online business, e-commerce, but
Yep.
it works well for service-based businesses as well. And it's where I host my coaching website. And they do sort of an all-in-one. It was started by some people that used to work for Kartra.
Yep. Okay.
So very, very similar
Yeah.
to that type of platform. So it's meant
Hmm.
more for like sales funnels and things like that. But you
Yes.
can build a really beautiful website, and they have a decent tiered plan. They have some free stuff, but you can't really do as much as you'd like to with it. And it's sometimes it's nice to have a little bit less control in the beginning when you don't know what you're doing with design.
Exactly. But to go back to your question, when you have a free website, um, just think about the perception that's giving to your potential clients. You know, it doesn't send off the right kind of message for most businesses. Again, it's almost like, are they really serious about this? So I definitely recommend paid.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great answer. Love it. So now, for those of us who have been in business for 2 to 5 to 10 years, I know that there's instances of rebranding that's necessary. You need to work on your SEO. Perhaps you have blogs with broken links and things like that. Everything just needs a bit of a laundry cycle, essentially. You got to clean it up. So, what are the signs that your website is due for a revamp?
Yeah. So the number one sign, in my opinion, is you're not getting leads from your website, because
Simple.
that's why the website's there. Um, if people aren't finding your website and converting to fill out your contact form or reaching out to contact you via phone or email, if you're not getting leads, chances are there's some kind of disconnect. It hasn't been designed and written strategically to
Mhm.
attract your ideal client. So to me, that's the number one reason you would need a revamp. Obviously, rebranding. As our businesses grow and evolve, we might try to attract a different kind of client, and then we might want to change our website. I mean, our website is almost our number one brand visual.
Mhm.
So everything all needs to be cohesive and in alignment with each other. Um, Broken links and testing contact forms, things like that. I recommend that people do that on a very regular basis with
Mhm.
their website. But looking at your website, are there services listed on there that you don't even offer anymore? Right?
Right.
Is your photo on your about page from 5 years ago? That needs to be updated, especially for professional organizers who are going into their clients' homes. Like, there shouldn't be a disconnect between the way you look on your website and how you appear when you show up at their front door.
So true. You could have
Yeah.
been blonde in 2019 and now you're a redhead.
Exactly.
Yeah, very
Exactly.
simple things. Good. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So,
Yeah.
do you also in your business help people keep that cohesive brand alignment through social media as well? And how do you kind of handle all of that package
Right.
of branding?
Right. So I have a brand strategist on my team. So we can take care, and a copywriter as well.
Mhm.
So it's sort of an all-inclusive service where you can get, website, your copy written, and your brand developed for you.
Mhm.
Social media is not something that we handle, though.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it is its
Yeah.
own beast. And I have to say, the copywriting thing,
Mhm.
as somebody who has taken courses and learned just the basics of how to write sales copy,
Mhm.
I'm terrible at it. I mean, I've
Yeah.
done it just to have the experience to understand how important that is, and then to hire somebody who actually is trained and proficient in that skill, because it is
Yeah.
so difficult to
Mhm.
have the right pacing, the right rhythm, the right words, to have that voice of customer data so you know exactly who you're talking to. It's just all these crazy things. So
Mhm.
that's a wonderful service that you
Yeah.
provide for people to invest in.
Yeah.
So On that note, can you tell us how we can find you? What types of, so you mentioned that you have a package that you offer. Do you want to kind of give us a little bit more about how that works in case somebody wants to come and work with you?
Oh, sure. I'd love to. So there's actually three different ways that we could work together. Um, my signature offer is custom website design. So we're working together for several months. We're doing a lot of strategy. Um, I start designing looking at a blank white screen, and I'm developing something that is unique to your business and your brand. And that is where my team with my brand strategist and my copywriter can come on board as well. And
Mhm.
you get the whole package. Another way we can work together, and this is set up more for businesses who are a little earlier on and might not have the investment level for a custom website, is I offer website template customization. So it's a little different from just buying a template that you
Mhm.
then have to go configure. What happens is I have several different templates that I've designed specifically for the home industry,
Mhm.
and you choose one of them, and then I will customize it based on your colors, your fonts, your images, and your words. So you'll provide me with all of that. I will upload and format it all and take care of all the technical things and launch the website for you.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it's a template. It's not designed specifically to your business, but it's customized so it will look different from all the other ones because it's unique to you. So
Right.
that's been a really popular offer. And then the final way we can work together is if you've DIY'd your website and you just want the advice of a professional web designer, you're stuck on something. I offer what's called website strategy boosts, and they're 90 minutes on Zoom. You can record it. We can talk about any aspect of your website that you need help with, whether it be the design, the words, SEO, integrations, images, anything like that. But you would then take my advice and implement it yourself.
Wonderful. That is so awesome. And I have a feeling a lot of people watching and listening are going to be interested in contacting you. So, speaking of that, let us know your website, your social handles, how we can find you. And then, of course, I will be sure to post all of that down in the show notes in the description, but just to hear it from you.
Absolutely. So my website is rdwdesignstudio.com. And my Instagram is where I'm the most active, and that's RDW Design Studio. Feel free to follow me there. I do post tips every Tuesday at least, and sometimes more often than that. I do a video with tips once a month. One just went up today. I'm really all about sharing information because I fully realize, because I was there myself, that sometimes you can't afford to have somebody do it for you. So I want to share the knowledge. There's a pretty extensive blog on my website where you can get lots of information. And is it okay if I share a gift with your audience as well?
Absolutely. We love gifts. You kidding? Love it.
So I have a lead magnet, which I'm sure you've probably spoken about in previous episodes. But if you go to my website, it's rdwdesignstudio.com/gift. You can download 8 tips for website success.
Beautiful. I will be sure to absolutely include that in the show notes. You guys can go down and snag that little freebie from Robyn. That would be super helpful for a lot of people just getting started on this whole journey. And then they'll have a way of getting in touch with you that much easier.
Yep.
Wonderful. Robyn, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been an honor to have you with us.
You, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, Melanie.
All right, fam, I want to thank you again for sticking around as we wrap this thing up, and make sure to point you to the card in the corner. Also, down in the description of the YouTube video, if you're watching this, I'll put it in the show notes as well. I have a video on YouTube going through and essentially auditing my website with a lot of these things that Robyn and I discussed on the episode today. It was filmed about a year ago, but it's still pretty relevant, and it'll give you some good visuals to take a lot of the information that we talked about today and put it into practice on a Squarespace website. So I encourage you to go check out that video when you're done with this episode. Don't forget to scroll through the rest of the goodies down in the description in the show notes, where you can find the contact information for Robyn if you're ready to go and engage in her services, or you want to get in touch with me for a coaching session, forms pack. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to comment down below. Join that free Facebook group so you can get extra support from us. All the members in there are just so fabulous and really supportive. So I encourage you to get in touch with us there. And beyond that, I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.